We've met before, haven't we? I don't think so.
The 90s was a prime time for horror movies. From the likes of Scream, Seven, The Silence of the Lambs, Fear and Ringu, the 90s was spectacular for horror and thriller. However, there are many movies that were overlooked and deserve your attention. These are the top 5 underrated horror movies from the 90s. Coming in at number 5, we have Lost Highway. Lost Highway is a movie that makes you question everything, particularly what the hell is even going on, and you can thank David Lynch for that. Released in 1997 and directed by Lynch, the movie follows a musician played by Bill Pullman, who begins receiving mysterious VHS tapes of himself and his wife, played by Patricia Arquette, in their home, and who was suddenly convicted of murder, after which time he seemingly disappears and is replaced by a young mechanic leading a different life. Yeah, even the plot to the movie is incredibly confusing. There's a character, he disappears, another character replaces him. Makes no sense. Once this switcheroo happens, everything descends further into madness, with the replacement character encountering a terrifying devilish creature in white makeup and enters a nightmarish reality where nothing quite makes sense. There are many theories as to what is going on, whether it be that David Lynch is tapping into his own nightmarish reality that he uses when writing his weird experimental horrors. For those familiar with David Lynch's work, you'll know that nothing ever makes sense, from Twin Peaks to Eraserhead to Inland Empire. He is incredibly experimental and revels in making viewers feel uncomfortable and distressed. As I'm distressed right now, I'm overheating because I didn't get the PS5 and now I'm hot and bothered and angry. I want to go home. And trust me when I say Lost Highway is the most uncomfortable you will feel. You will have absolutely no idea what's going on, but you will feel completely distressed while watching it unfold. Before we jump into number 4, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, it really helps us out a lot, and then send a prayer for me to get a PS5. Coming in at number 4, we have Ravenous. This is a horror movie that we discuss so rarely, but it certainly deserves more respect, that's for sure. Released in 1999 and directed by Antonia Bird, Ravenous stars the likes of Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, and David Arquette, and takes place in a remote military outpost in the 19th century, with Captain John Boyd and his regiment embarking on a rescue mission which takes a dark and deadly turn when they are ambushed by a group of sadistic cannibals. Now, when Pearce's cowardly character Lieutenant Boyd stumbles into Fort Spencer, the few remaining men at the fort, one being Robert Carlyle, begin eating one another. Lovely stuff. The movie itself is about the price of bloodshed, with Boyd being revealed as a man who allowed his men to die, as well as the act of eating human flesh healing wounds and ridding folks of diseases. The cowardly survive and those with moral compass perish. It's very different to your typical horror movie, with those deserving to die outliving the rest. The movie is excellent, bloody, and makes you think, that's for sure. Sadly, Ravenous has been incredibly overlooked, but is a fan favourite among longtime horror movie fans. It's just not a movie that gets a lot of attention from mainstream audiences. In at number 3, we have Arachnophobia. Arachnophobia, yes, I've discussed this movie a few times, and yes, this terrifies me more than anything, but it's also incredibly underrated and oftentimes forgotten. Maybe we all blocked it out. I certainly blocked it out because I hate spiders with a burning passion. Anyway, released in 1990 and directed by Frank Marshall, Arachnophobia stars Jeff Daniels and John Goodman, with the movie centering on a newly discovered prehistoric spider from Venezuela, which is transported to a small California town. It then produces a species of deadly spiders which begin killing the town's residents. Any film about spiders is usually a scary one, and Arachnophobia is no different. The spiders are everywhere, nowhere is safe and certainly no one. From an elderly man putting on a slipper to a woman in the shower, spiders can attack at any time and in any place. Now, there is no blood, no gore, no gaping wounds, just simply the fear of spiders, which we can all relate to. That is what Arachnophobia presents us with, and it is incredibly effective. Not to mention when you finally see the big mama spider, that will definitely send chills down your spine. The movie quite literally centers on one family trying to take down the growing infestation and defeat the mother spider. The entire movie is my worst nightmare, with spiders maneuvering around left, right and center, hiding under toilet seats and lingering in lampshades. I hate it, but that's what makes it so good, it's so damn effective and definitely deserves more respect. In at 2 we have Stir of Echoes. Honestly, I often forget this movie even exists, but I get very excited when I remember it because this film truly terrified me growing up. Released in 1999 and directed by David Coop, Stir of Echoes is a supernatural horror movie based on the 1958 novel of the same name written by Richard Matheson. The movie follows Tom Witzke, played by Kevin Bacon, a phone operator who begins experiencing strange goings-on, as well as a series of frightening visions after he is hypnotized by his sister-in-law. Now, this movie's downfall is that it came out the same year as The Sixth Sense, so it was incredibly overlooked, disappointingly. We follow Tom, who begins to see visions of the same ghostly entity, Samantha, that his young son has supposedly been talking to. It's all very creepy, with editing that adds even more fear to this already terrifying ghost tale. Tom becomes obsessed with Samantha and finding out what exactly happened to her, with the locals in his Chicago neighborhood dubbing her a runaway teen. But something is more at play here. Tom, being hypnotized, opened up his mind to the world of the supernatural, and it tells us that we may never know what spirits may be lingering in our homes. The movie has an excellent twist, and one that I will not reveal. You're welcome, I usually spoil everything. But Tom unravels a deep web of lies and attempts to free Samantha's spirit and bring her peace. The movie is truly excellent, with creepy elements and many well-executed jump scares, not to mention Kevin Bacon is always on top form. And finally, in at number 1 we have Funny Games. Unlike its title suggests, Funny Games is by no means a funny movie. It's actually incredibly disturbing and every person's worst nightmare. Released in 1997 and directed by Michael Haneke, Funny Games is an Austrian horror movie following 2 men who hold a family hostage and torture them with sadistic games in their own home. The movie is aimed at cinema goers who revel in violence and find entertainment and enjoyment in people being tortured on screen. There is an entire subgenre dedicated to this lewd fascination, torture porn, and personally, I'm a fan. Anyway, the film itself is incredibly meta, breaking the fourth wall countless times and involving the audience in the sadistic games taking place inside of the home. The 2 young men address the audience directly, even rewinding the film at certain points, suggesting that the viewers are involved in their cruel acts. We're participating. Because at the end of the day, we hold the power. We hold the remote, but we don't switch it off. We just watch and witness. The movie suggests throughout that we're supporting the actions of the young men, when we in fact have the power to end the torment simply by switching it off. It's an incredibly smart but also eye-opening movie, not to mention it's incredibly brutal, disturbing, and not one that you can easily return to. It's an excellent criticism that hits viewers hard, making us all feel like accomplices in this cruel game. The director also made an American version of the movie starring Tim Roth and Naomi Watts. It's a tad easier to swallow but just as disturbing in nature. Many people don't discuss these movies enough. They truly are fantastic, but definitely not fun. Not funny, not fun. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any underrated horror movies that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 5 best horror movie monsters in terrible movies. Samuel Higdon said, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark wasn't a terrible movie. Yes, it could have been better, but it wasn't terrible. Well, Samuel, we don't all agree on the same things. Just because I think it's terrible doesn't mean you don't have to think it's terrible. You can like it. No judgment. If you like that film, good for you. I personally think it's a terrible movie. End of story. Jexa said, I don't normally like to comment on how hosts look, but Lucy Jackin shirt combo here is absolutely bad. I love it. Thanks, I am bad. Just not today. I'm really hot today. I'm hot and overheating and I'm uncomfortable, but I look bad. Nathan Chapman said, Anaconda is a secret classic. I agree with you, it is a secret classic, even though it's a bad movie. Secret classic. Sheila DMJ said, the pale lady was just me after lockdown. The pale lady is me all the time. I am the pale lady from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If you come near me, I'll swallow you with my body. Sherio88 said, Lucy, you're always so trendy and stylish. I'm loving the black leather jacket. Thanks, it's because I'm single and I'm trying to impress the boys and girls and anyone with a pulse. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just Cher. I only care about Cher. One day she might be on YouTube and be like, top 5, what's this? And then she'll see me and be like, that, I'm marrying her.
I was gonna say one day she will have a call, so yeah, it's cool.
Chris. True, one day I won't have a pulse, and then I'll be with her. John Bullen said, Smiley looks like an old warped baseball found in a pond. You're not wrong. I mean, it's accurate description. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, I'll see you later. There's a creepy guy, he's got makeup on, he's creepy creep. Describe the creepiest part. For those familiar with David Lynch's work, you'll know that... Hello? Is someone here? Sounded like someone just opened the door. Before we jump into number 5, I'm just like done. I'm mentally drained. Can you go faster, please? There's what's that. What the just happened? Demon came out. Not to mention when you finally see the. Just laughing at myself. And it tells us that we may never know what spirits might be lingering in our heart. Oh my god! Just say the fucking words, you. I'm overheating. It's the stress. I'm getting hot, and when I'm hot, I'm angry. I'm like too hot. I feel it.